This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay. All right, very good. Welcome, Stephen. Hello. Okay, we're going to call to order the meeting of the Southampton Select Board for March 26th at about 6:03 p.m. If we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we have a little bit of a order revision tonight. There was notice tonight of a public auction to take place at 6 p.m. So at this point, I'm going to formally open the public auction, and this is for a property at 19 Cottage Avenue. And Jen, would you like to say something about this briefly?
I think you pretty much just covered what had to be said to open the auction.
Okay. So this was, just tell us how the property was, a couple sentences that are in your foreground, it was acquired by the town because of whatever, right?
So the property was foreclosed on by the town in 2022 due to unpaid taxes.
Okay.
So this is 19 Cottage Ave, going to public auction today, minimum bid of $5,000.
Okay. All right. And this is, if you want to just give the parcel number for anybody listening, if you wouldn't mind.
This is parcel ID. Is it in here?
Yeah, 4495A.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even look for that in here.
Right.
I'm like,
Okay. So at this point in time,
I'd move we keep the auction open for 15 minutes.
for 15 minutes, I don't see mostly anybody here for that, but that would be the option to have people
You got 15 minutes to get down here with $5,000.
who are interested
You can own a piece
to
of
purchase this
and the
property.
pods.
yeah.
So we will keep the auction open for 15 minutes until 6:15-ish. Okay.
Okay.
What happens if there's no bids?
If there's no bid, it remains in the custody of the town, to my knowledge.
Correct.
Yep.
That's
I
a
think-
616 conversation.
Yeah, that'll be another conversation, exactly. Yeah, I think if there are no bids, it stays in the custody of the town, and then we have to worry about next steps from insurance
Okay.
to whatever has to happen with it. So with that, we'll keep an eye on the clock, somebody please, and we'll just continue with a couple of agenda items and come back around in about 10 minutes, thereabouts, 10, 15 minutes, okay? All right, anybody here for open time for the public? All right. Seeing none, let's pop down then to, I guess, reports. Scott, you want to do your town administrator report?
Thank you. I'm going to try to get these out the week before in the future, too.
Okay.
Kind of still developing everything. But I want to thank Stephen for taking me out for a tour last week. It was really informative, just being able to see everything and
Mic over. Just get your mic a little closer, that's all. Yeah, just a reminder to everybody that we speak up a little bit loudly so that people were having trouble hearing us last meeting.
not have to keep my eyes on the road, so.
There you go. Yep. Perfect.
I wouldn't be able to cover that much area. So the transition to Microsoft 365 and the new server is completed, and we're back up to our levels of a few months ago. So far, nothing is broken. But it does kind of show some of the significant needs, such as the internet, Wi-Fi for the Council on Aging, and some updated technology infrastructure that we'll probably have to address in the future. I did talk to Ty and Bond, Alex, just to get an update on the Southampton Greenway project. I know that the Zero College Highway was presented to the planning board for the A&R, and that was approved. I know we have several members that are also on the planning board, so. Thanks, John, for getting the budgets ready for the schools. and that's going to be that was a big help just to put everything together. 89 Clark Street, so we did receive the appraisal, and we're going to begin negotiations with the property owner this week. The Collins Center said that they should be able to give us a draft this week of the report. It won't be the final report, but it should be enough to give us some idea for budgeting purposes.
Okay.
We also met with Mountain Waters, with the Kestrel Trust, and Ty and Bond again for the municipal drainage system that you might have saw on social media that Randall had posted. So.
Okay. Good. Sounds like you've had a busy week. And a few, or a week or two, I guess. And many more to come with other things, and hopefully all of our breakdowns stay at a minimum. So, good. All right, how about, we've got a few more minutes. How about other select board reports? Joy, do you have anything from any of your committees lately?
Just Housing Authority had a joint meeting with Planning Board, discussion in regards to a 40R district overlay and applying for that and possibility of doing that over by the Easthampton side of College Highway. It was a thorough discussion, but there are some major hurdles, sewer, infrastructure,
And just to clarify, the 40R would be a mixed-use district?
yes,
or-
mixed-use district. I'm not that well versed in it because of the hurdles have hindered the town really getting deep into it, but there was a good discussion on it, and talking about working with MassWorks or finding other nonprofits that could help us with applications and infrastructure to kind of put together an application.
Okay,
And I think that was it.
that's all you had? Okay, good. Yep, Stephen?
I'll expand, if I might.
Oh yeah, Stephen was there because he was on planning board and I had to leave early.
Yeah, well, following up on that, our consultant, Richard Harris, has done some work.
Sadly.
And he reflected back to the Pioneer Valley Planning Council that had done an earlier evaluation and found us not really quite ready for lack of infrastructure. It's not just mixed use, but the base density for the housing component is 10 units per acre. So given that we're limited to 4 bedrooms per acre, there's no way you can get to that qualifying density for the housing. That said, we are near to sewer up in the Red Rocks Plaza, Big Y neighborhood, more than just one property, several properties there. Because Easthampton, and this is another piece of the follow-on evolving conversations, Easthampton has some sewer capacity and is interested in exploring an intermunicipal agreement. But it takes pipes to connect, and the availability or the willingness of Easthampton doesn't mean that we're ready to launch. But the 40R is interesting because it does provide flexibility for doing, as Joy said, mixed use with a key on housing. That evolves, and we're looking at how we might bring sewer beyond the Red Rock Plaza. Again, with the attention on the Greenway and the engineering focus there.
Separate discussion. Yeah.
Off to the Grants Committee, a proposal to look at that in more detail. The Grants Committee is coming up soon, I know. Planning Board, not so soon. Assessors, welcome new member of the board, and started some field visits.
Good. Okay.
I have more to say, but that'll cover it for now.
Yeah, well, we'll keep it going. John?
Most of you were all at the finance meeting, so I don't have to report on that. And I believe that was live broadcast. The school-wise, the local committee has not met since last week, other than when we did the budget presentation, but the all-district subcommittee is working, and we met last night, and we have a recommendation out to the all-district committee, which is 2 members of every school committee on it, that it'll be public tomorrow night, is that we are going to recommend that we temporarily halt or slow down the process to find a superintendent by September 1st and move towards an interim superintendent. An individual has self-identified who has a believed to be a stellar reputation, recently retired, long-term superintendent of a regional school district that comes highly recommended from their colleagues, who has potentially he's agreed to be interviewed to take the post, to give us and then in September, we would hit the ground running. This is not generally the time you look for superintendents.
Right.
They generally don't want to give 30-day notice before the end of the school year.
Yeah.
So that will come out tomorrow night. Hampshire Regional did pass their budget. I believe it's finalized at this point, and I think they're going to probably come forward next week at one of our finance joint meetings to go through their budget, like as we did with Norris. PPP met, but everything's on the agenda for tonight. And I believe that's all my committees.
Okay, very good. All right, and then just briefly on the ad hoc grant committee, we're going to be meeting on Thursday, and we've got 2 or 3 possibilities of grant interest. All of them are expressions of interest that have to be done. One is for the Historical Commission, 2 others are related to the One Stop program, one for the Public Safety Building Complex, and the other for a feasibility study on the idea of looking at utilities along the future railway. So those are 3 things that are kind of on the agenda that we want to take a look at, and all the expressions of interest are due within the next probably 3 weeks or so. So we'll divide and conquer and get those written up, and that'll be the main work that we'll be doing for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have nothing to report yet on any grants coming due in terms of any awards as yet. And then the cost efficiencies meeting, I must say I've been very delinquent on with all my other duties going on here, but I'm going to try and arrange something probably for April 10th at this point in time, if that meets with everybody's approvals. So that's where we will be. So let me take one more minute and do one more thing, and then we'll come right back to this auction here. Moving on to new business, if I can. There is, in front of us tonight in your packages, there's a MDAR, so Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, proposed acquisition of an APR property for the Hamels. And for those listening, this is all part of the bigger Mountain Waters Landscape Partnership Program grant that has been awarded via Kestrel. And there is a notice that we need to read for the public here, and Scott, correct me if I do anything wrong here, but this is a notice of proposed acquisition of an agricultural preservation restriction on property in the town of Southampton. In compliance with Mass General Law, Chapter 7C, Section 37, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, acting by and through its Department of Agricultural Resources, the department, hereby gives notice that it proposes to acquire an agricultural preservation restriction, APR, on the real property identified herein for the purpose of protecting in perpetuity its superior and productive agricultural resources by preventing their conversion to other uses. The application received by MDAR indicates that the property is owned by Edward P. and Mary M. Hamill and consists of parcels located at Glendale Road in Southampton, as approximately represented on the attached map, which we have in our packages here. The APR may encompass all or parts of the areas shown. The current use of the property is primarily for vineyard, hay, and pasture. Following the recording of the APR, the use of the subject property is limited to agricultural use, as more particularly set forth in the APR document, the General Laws, Chapter 184, Section 31, and the regulations of the Department, 330 CMR 22. This is from the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, Christine Chisholm, the APR Regional Planner. So there is nothing we need to do on that. This is simply a written and therefore also a public notification of the intent for the acquisition. So we will, having read that, we need to be able to sign a little certificate saying that we have actually read this out in the public forum, this certificate of notice. And then there is a second part that I will ask for a vote on. There is, the regulations for the APR require that 120 days prior to a purchase, the agency must notify public officials of that action. Because of the department's priority classification of this farmland for protection, we ask the municipality agree to reduce the 120-day notification period to 60 days to expedite the process, basically to close on the property. So the closing for this project is a time-sensitive matter, and therefore ask that you waive the 120-day notice period and make it a 60-day notice period. If an agreement, please complete and return the enclosed consent to reduction of notice period. I will say that we've been contacted by Senator Vilas's office and Rep. Pease's office. They received the same letter, and they have already signed on to reduce the waiting period from 120 days to 60 days to expedite the closing on this property. So I would take a motion to that effect, if we could, please.
So moved.
All right, could I have a second on that? Second by Joy. Any questions about that, John?
No, just because of the owners are current clients of mine, so I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Okay, all right. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. And John, you're abstaining?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 in favor, 1 abstention. All right, thank you very much.
Just PS on that.
Yep.
I think you did an excellent job organizing the vote, but this property is in agriculture production. It's commercially active, and it will remain in private ownership.
Right.
The only thing that the important thing that this does is it ensures past this ownership, in all future time, the town and the state have a right to ensure that that land remains available for agriculture.
Yep, in perpetuity, yep.
Importantly, it remains on the tax rolls.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Yep, okay. So with that, I think we are now at our time to close the tax auction, property auction. I'm not seeing anybody that has come in here to put in a bid on this property on 19 Cottage Avenue. So could I have a motion, I guess, to close the public auction?
Motion to close.
All right, can I have a second? Second by Joy. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're declaring the public auction for the property at 19 Cottage Avenue closed. And I guess you'll let us know of any next steps that we need to take, but I'm assuming that it simply means that it remains in town property until we decide to take another step. Okay?
Yes.
Could I suggest?
Yeah, question.
Sorry.
Joy, first.
You want to go first?
What if someone is interested in the property?
If someone is interested in the property, they should contact you, or?
I mean, it has to be auctioned off, so we would have to post again for another public auctions. Maybe
Okay.
post for 30 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was a 30-day posting?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
pretty much. I mean, it doesn't have to be 30 days, but I did it for about 30 days.
okay. So for those listening, just to be sure that you all heard, so if there is still somebody out there who maybe missed this first notice and is interested in this property, you should probably let the town treasurer know of your interest so that we could actually post this again
Right.
for a second auction opportunity, okay? And normally it would be posted for up to 30 days.
In addition to that, I would suggest that the town treasurer collector just get with the town administrator and figure out next steps in the event
Right.
we hold on to this.
Right.
You know, I think,
We have to budget to demolish and clean it
Yeah,
ourselves.
Right.
You need to come up, Jen.
The next steps would be to just budget to demolish and clean it up ourselves.
Yeah.
For the town to do that. I mean, that's really all we
given the
could
timing
do.
that we're at with warrants and special meeting, and,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, and finding the money to do that. I mean, it's going to cost us to demolish it, it's going to cost us to insure it, so we need to,
Right.
take a look at
Yeah.
those kinds of options in terms of what we have to do.
Question?
If we have to make any kind of transfer, if this is an immediate issue that we have to make a transfer, a budget transfer for town meeting, I don't know, that might be another article. Yeah, Stephen?
I should know this because I am liaison to the Board of Assessors, but in the process of doing the auction, did abutters to this property get specifically noticed or only generally noticed through legal postings?
I did mail the notice to all abutters of the property, yes.
That's good marketing, if nothing else. Thank you very much.
And there were abutters of the property that inquired, so I did think there would be success because they did inquire about purchasing the property. But
So they had specific notice of the auction.
and that's a requirement under the law. that any abutting property is notified in
make
writing.
sure.
Just notify.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Good, no, that's fine. So just in case somebody missed the notice for whatever reason, I mean, I think the first step would be to talk to the town administrator or the treasurer, let them know of your interest, and then that we can take it from there. If we had to open up and offer a second auction opportunity, I
Right.
guess we could probably do that, but
Yeah, be good.
we will otherwise take some steps on our own. Okay? Anybody else, questions? Joy? No? No? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
All
Thank you.
set. All right, so moving down, we may have a little bit longer discussion on the warrant article, so let's skip over to two other things that are on, they're going to be on the warrant anyway, but since the chair of the bylaws committee is here, in case we have any questions, let's just jump down to, there's two proposed general bylaws that are new bylaws. One is on tag sales, and one is on the Board of Registrars. So does anybody, have you had a chance to read through them? Do you have any particular questions?
I have no questions on the tag sale. I have questions on the Board of
registrars?
Registers.
Okay, let's take the tag sale first, just in case anybody else has any questions. Just to say that this is a new bylaw, partly based on reaction to people in town asking about, do we have a bylaw on tag sales? This is actually defining what a tag sale is versus a community tag sale, which may be a grouping of homes in a small neighborhood versus an estate sale, and proposed permit to be obtained from the town clerk's office for basic tag sale, personal family tag sale, $5, community tag sale, $10, estate sale, $25. And then it basically just talks about getting your permit and being careful in terms of parking when you are dealing with tag sales and putting one on, so that we don't infringe upon our traffic regulations in town. If anybody has any questions about tag sales or not, this will, once we say that, you know, we're pretty good with it, this still has to go to KP Law to do the final version of any kind of legalese that we may be missing, make sure that we're citing the correct MGLs. So that's always anything. And then, as we all know, and Lucy, before you leave, I just want to give you a shout out. Everybody who has been at town meeting in May last year, December last year, knows that we have had bylaws and all this proposition to get our general bylaws and our zoning bylaws all into this new code system called the E-Code 360. And with finally, after town meeting, the Attorney General has to approve all of our bylaws. Those things, at least for the general bylaws, have been fully approved, and that E360 is going to be coming online within this week. We've got it already there. So thank you, Lucy, for all your efforts on that, and we will get
Madam Chair,
it on the website pronto.
since we're on the public record, small correction. The Attorney General review is complete. We have to confirm that the edits were consistent with what we had
Right,
intended.
for zoning bylaws. I'm just talking about general bylaws. There's two separate ones. Yeah.
You?
Yeah, so the general bylaws are completely all set. Those have been fully
So the
vetted.
one related to the strong chief is done and approved by the Attorney
That has
General?
been, yeah,
Correct?
everything that was done. Yep, yeah. I don't remember if it was an article in the meeting.
My
We'll have to-
apologies.
We'll take a look at it, yeah, but, good, okay, so that's that. So fine, on the tag sales, if nobody has any questions?
I do have a question. Was
Yeah, Joy.
there concern brought up about tag sales in town that brought this to our attention, that we needed a bylaw?
I think at the time, people were asking about tag sales and were trying to figure out where they needed to go for a permit. And there had been a time where I believe the permits were available at one point in time, way back when, at the police station at some point in time, and then realized that they were stopped. So there haven't been any permits that have been awarded in the last number of years.
Did people need, is that something we were requiring?
With this bylaw, that's what we're proposing
A
now.
while ago.
Yeah.
It was, but then
But then-
the department recognized, this may have been like 12 years
Yeah.
ago, the department recognized that there was no bylaw on this.
Yeah.
Oh, so then they weren't.
So there has not been any bylaw to regulate tag sales. So this is putting a bylaw in place before the town to see if they will accept it.
But besides that, has there been any issues with tag sales?
Not to my knowledge, but again, it'd be the police that enforce it. It'd be probably more parking issues than anything else, I would think. If anything, there are some that have people that end up doing tag sales and then leave a lot of their unsold stuff out on the curb for weeks and weeks on end. And so this is trying to sort of just put a little bit of a framework around that as well, to leave it out for just a certain number of days and not leave it out forever yeah, Francine, come on up, sorry.
Just let me add that we were in the minority of towns not having a bylaw on it. And so putting some information out to the public so that they can be aware of what the parameters are and expectations, it just documents a process that we would like to see in place that's uniform. That's all.
Sure.
Okay.
My other question is, how are we going to determine between what is a tag sale and what is an estate sale?
Definition is trying to be there.
Right.
Where you've got a one-time event for an estate sale to liquidate belongings of a particular estate, contents of somebody's home if somebody's passed away, basically, whereas a tag sale would be something I would have on a Saturday afternoon at my house, kind of thing, put stuff out on the lawn for myself, but it's not because I'm getting rid of all the things in my entire house.
Okay, so we would be asking that of people, like, is this an estate sale or a tag sale? Because I mean, not a lot, just a regular old layperson would just be like, no, it's just a tag sale.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why the definition is there for an estate sale, a one-time event to liquidate the belongings of an estate or contents of a home, and may occur within the home or have items displayed outdoors. So that's what we've come up with. We'll see if KP Law agrees with us. There may be a better definition that they want to put in here, I don't know. But that's what the bylaws committee came up with.
Yes, and we're open to,
Yeah.
you know, any other information that you have available, just to include it to make it acceptable. But it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Okay.
I wish we didn't have to get this deep into people's business. But
Yeah,
what I, excuse me, what I expect is that phone calls go to the police station saying, what's up, or there's an issue, and so we might as well have a process.
I haven't heard an issue. I've just heard people are inquiring about permits.
It will grow over time, I'm convinced. So I'd just like to cover our costs, given that, A, it's been raised somewhat recently. We're out of the norm with other towns. And I know our police officers or our peace officers are overworked.
So, okay.
Again, I don't think I've heard anything where police are going out to
No, I don't
tag
think,
sales
no, I don't
as a
think, no.
concern. Okay, all right.
No,
I just
we're not
wanted
saying
to-
that. We're not
okay.
saying that at all.
Nor
I think-
have they
I
ever
think
come
we-
to enforce the burn permit,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
the law.
Well, the burn permit's different.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in general, we've got a set of general bylaws to guide how we all live together in community, right? I mean, it's not because we've necessarily had a problem, it's trying to sort of put some guidelines out there for how people react and interact with each other living in a small town. So that's the purpose of any of the general bylaws, I think.
I just don't think there has to be a bylaw for everything, so.
Okay, well, we're trying not to make any more, believe us. We want to be done with them, too. All right, so proposed one on the Board of Registrars. John, you said you had something?
Yes. So, I mean, in general, I'm okay with this. However, when I read the second paragraph about the compensation or the makeup.
Composition?
Yeah, composition, thank you. Pursuant to that section of the law, the Board of Registers has 4 members. 3 of them are appointed by the Select Board,
Right.
each for 3 years. The town clerk shall serve as a 4th and ex officio, so the town clerk's not voting. Membership must include representatives from the 2 leading political parties, okay, with no more than 2 members of each of those parties. At the term of the registers expire or a vacancy occurs, the Board of Registers, the Select Board shall appoint their successor. It then goes on later on to talk about how we come up with those names, and we only reach out to the 2 leading political parties. This morning, I inquired of the town clerk of what our current status is, and these are the numbers she gave me. There are 6,045 residents in the town. Of such, there are 4,822 that are registered, so 75.28% of our population. Of those registered, only 19% are registered as Democrats and only 12% are Republicans. 68% of our community recognizes themselves as unenrolled, yet there is no process to ensure that an unenrolled person has an opportunity to get on this Board of Registers. That's my problem with it. We are ignoring the majority of our community.
Go ahead, Susan.
Okay. This is straight from the state's guide. This is not a local decision that we made.
Yeah.
It's a document that's issued to the Board of Registrars by the Commonwealth, just to clear that up. But what I do see is, it said that no more than 2 members of each of those parties.
Correct.
That does not preclude an unenrolled person from coming forward.
Since the request for names only goes to the 2 parties,
Right.
I suspect that neither party will ever put forward an unenrolled name.
Right.
So therefore, there's never an opportunity for an unenrolled person to say, hey, maybe I want to do this, and I want to come forward.
Let's get some opinion on that, but I don't read it that way. I read it that the political parties may recommend, and that on the committee, no more than 2 could be from one of those political parties. But if there's 1 from each and 1 independent, I would find that to be acceptable.
That's the rewording that I would suggest. And if KP says we can do it, it's no more than 1 from each party to ensure that an unenrolled comes in. Or there are 45 other people. Right, so any of them too, which makes up 0.93. I'm just saying, I'm good with everything until it says the 2, because then, and there's no avenue for the majority of the voices to be heard, as spelled out in here. It can be interpreted that way, yes.
What's interesting, if you look at the qualifications on the first bullet, though, it says, must be a registered voter in Southampton, and if a member of a party.
Correct.
So that kind of leaves that door open to be unenrolled.
It doesn't say that they have to.
But you're right, the letter going out to get names for us to
I'm
nominate.
all for 1 from the Democratic Party, 1 from the Republican Party, and they can submit more names, but then there should be some sort of general broadcast, even if it's on the website. Any unenrolled that wants to come forward, put your name forward to solicit. Now, it may be like our volunteers. We don't get any responses. But at least we're putting the call out there, making the opportunity, and if there's no response, then we can pick a double from the other side. But I think the voices should be heard.
I think that's acceptable.
Yeah.
I read it, not the way you read it. I read it that it was open. But if we can get it to KP Law, and get their reaction, and see if they could help us with some language that would make it clearer. But then the town has to come up with a mechanism of outreaching and, to recruit potential candidates. And out of that, they would get 1 person.
Thank you, Francine. I think you've translated John's concern well, and I share that concern.
And to be clear, I also say it's regardless of what the town clerk's registration is, right? That person should be removed. So that's where you end up with the 2.
They're ex officio.
Because, so if they happen to be a Democrat and there's your 2. Right, you know what I mean? So then the natural course,
Okay.
But that's my concern. Other than that, I'm fine with the whole process.
No, I think it's fine. Okay.
So that's one question in terms of how do we deal with the unenrolled population, and how do we make sure that they have the access? Okay. Yeah. And certainly, I mean.
You said it was 68%, 64%?
67.9.
68. Okay. All right.
Good. Okay.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John.
Anything else?
Any other comments? Joy?
Good.
Anything?
No.
Okay.
All right. Great. So those will be, hopefully, depending on any comments from KB Law, should be able to be on the agenda, on the warrant article for the May meeting. There are 2 others that have already been through Select Board. One is nuisance, peace and quiet, and then keeping of unregistered vehicles. So those had already come through.
We did already pass those?
Yeah, many months ago, actually.
Right, it happened at town meeting.
They never went to town meeting yet. No, they never went to town meeting yet, so.
Did we vote both of these, Madam Chair?
Yeah, so we should have a motion to say that, with minor corrections here and there that we've talked about, as, per the commentary.
I move that, subject to review of council and John Lumbrough.
The only, if.
Move it forward to
I wouldn't have to say this if Rainey was still on the board. But on the tag sale one, I think section 6, we shouldn't assume that we're always going to have a male police chief. So the chief of police or their designee.
Their designee, sure.
That's all.
Yep.
Shout out to Rainey.
There you go. Perfect, thank you. All right, so with minor corrections, the motion would be simply to move these on to
Yep.
KP Law.
With comments.
With comments as noted.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Aye.
No.
Okay. Aye, so 3-1. All right, thank you. Next up, Scott, you want to take a look at the warrant articles? You want to just go through the list that we have in here? So we've got in our package just the overall list of what we think is coming at us for the warrant articles that have been put in right now. And we won't, Scott's been working on drafting the actual warrant articles and motions themselves, so we'll catch that up probably at a future time, but at least let's get a sense of what's coming on the agenda for the town meeting.
Additional packet.
So Scott, go ahead, please.
So the first part, we have the financial articles, free cash to stabilization fund, free cash to operating stabilization fund, and free cash to the OPED fund. After that, we have the annual operating budget, the water enterprise budget, and then the transfer station enterprise budget as well. And then I think the more popular items would be the land acquisition articles, depending on how the select board wants to move forward tonight. The first one is the land acquisition of 89 Clark Street. So we did get the appraisal, the draft purchase and sale, and we're going to be meeting with the property owner this week to discuss the negotiations and finding a price. Everything's been done through KP Law at this point that we can. Obviously, we still have to do a title search and all the other due diligence after, pending approval by town meeting and getting a negotiated price together. The next one is a joint one from the Public Safety Building Committee and Select Board, again, depending on how tonight kind of plays out. The next parts are transfers, one from the police chief. I do have a placeholder for the fire chief, just in case. I know that we're looking out for some bids for the evacuation system. So in case, some of it goes a little bit more than the $38,000 that was appropriated last year. And then two from that I'm recommending, which would be the transfer of funds for technology, and it's essentially for the Wi-Fi. It's going to be roughly a little under $15,000. Currently, this part of the building does not have access to the internet, or at least reliable access. So it's very difficult for the Council on Aging to be able to log on.
And we're actually on an unsecured Wi-Fi completely within Town Hall.
Yep.
So that is something we should not be on.
Yeah, and we have like 3 different zones. So here's a different Wi-Fi, upstairs is a different Wi-Fi, and then that area is a different Wi-Fi. So it would just make it one uniform secure network, and the entire infrastructure would pretty much be redone with the wiring as well. So it's not just the Wi-Fi, but it's also doing a lot like the physical wiring to have that. Transfer salary for the town administrator's salary, and then that it would be the end of what we have for transfers so far. There might be 1 or 2 that comes through, but I think we've sent reminders to all the department heads to double check their budgets. I asked Bradley to double check everything as well to see if there's any red flags. And we did send out a reminder to all the departments just to, if they do need a transfer, to let us know as soon as possible. We have the 4 bylaw changes, tag sales, the nuisance, board registers, and the unregistered vehicles. We have 4 CPC articles, 3 affecting the use of the CPC funds, and then obviously the 4th is their budget for the year. 2 for improvements, greenway design, and the mountain waters. So those are 2 of the longer projects that have been ongoing, and then the cemetery fence restoration, which was just approved a couple weeks ago. And then the last 2 articles so far are the revolving funds, and the zoning submitted 1 amendment to the zoning table.
So are we missing one of the transfers to free cash? Because we do 3 by policy, but don't we need to correct Article 5 from the last town meeting? Or address that, right? The 360,000?
Right, from the school?
Correct.
Right.
That we need to we're supposed to replenish first, and then
The
apply,
funds to Hampshire Regional that were,
and then apply the calculations. to the balance.
Right, so that was, how much was that, John, 365?
I think it was about 360.
Something like that. There was,
It was Article 5 of the last town meeting.
of the May town meeting, I believe it was, right?
Right.
Hold on a second. Find that. Hold on. For the May warrant last year, we transferred money from operational stabilization for Hampshire Regional, did we? Is that what we did, I think?
Yep.
Right, that was $350,387, Scott. So this was,
So we need those funds in the event that the other 4 communities approved the overall Hampshire regional budget, because we voted it down, and they did approve it. So we were obligated, if it takes 2 out of the 5 communities for the budget to fail, when only 1 out of the 5 communities, 1 happened to represent 56% of the entire budget, fails it, and the other 4 pass it, the minority speak, and we pay it. So we had to temporarily borrow that money to make sure we had it. And at least from my select board point of view, it was our intent to replace that out of free cash, to put it back into our, so it wouldn't be lost, and then apply our free cash. And that's why we were pushing to get free cash certified in September, but that ship hit a bridge, I guess.
right, literally. So this moved it,
Out of operation stabilization
Operation, yeah.
into a revenue source
yeah,
to fund the Hampshire regional budget.
right. So how we need to word this now is going to be transferring from free cash that amount to meet the,
To replenish the amount borrowed for fiscal year '24.
for fiscal 2024, correct, yeah. And then the actual amount of the budget for Hampshire Regional is a bit more than this much now, though, right? I mean, this will be applied to the,
This will just go back into our stabilization account.
okay. Sort of clear, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. We had to do a few machinations last year. The other one that's coming up, and I know you said that there was a capital improvement meeting, and they don't have much to work with in terms of not having free cash, et cetera. But I know one of the high priorities had been getting our various doors on the bathrooms ADA compliant. So I would highly recommend that be a warrant article if it's not.
So I can speak to that. So the capital committee is scheduled to meet, I believe, Thursday, at which time we'll score all the requests.
Okay.
And I think the general consensus of the group is that's the number 1 priority.
Yeah, I would hope so, yeah. And I don't have a clue how much that was.
$11,943.
Really? For
And
the
there's
4
not-
bathrooms? Yeah,
Yeah, and, well, I thought it was 3 doors. And there's $95,000 available
okay,
before we move in free cash.
okay. All right. Yeah, because there's 2 bathrooms down here, 1 upstairs and 1 in the COA. There's 4 altogether, so.
Oh, yeah.
I think they probably all need to be done, one way or t'other. All right. Anybody think of any other articles that we might be missing offhand? I mean, people have had a chance to submit articles here, but is there anything else that comes to mind that? Anybody? No? No other, I think, as we get into it tonight, if we take a look at the latest, and I guess Bradley's doing this anyway, though, on the expense and revenue report, if we're seeing people at this point in time, 9 months into the fiscal year, if people are approaching their allocation for their budget that aren't yet overspent, but they might be in the next couple months, they need to be thinking about a transfer, right?
And/or be reminded that it is illegally prohibited to deficit spend.
We're not going to deficit spend, so people need to just be sure that they're looking at their budgets very carefully on that, because you've got a one-time chance here at the annual town meeting to do any interline transfers within your department. So we have them for police and maybe for fire, and we'll see if anybody else has any. But speak now or forever hold your peace, because we don't offer it many times a year, the ability to do that. So, okay.
Very good.
Any others that, if not, so Scott will keep on working on tidying up the actual article language and all that kind of stuff. And that would be getting us moving forward. Okay? Great. All right. Anything else? If not, we'll keep on moving on the agenda here and keep us going. We've got another 10, 15 minutes before the Public Safety Building Committee joins us. And that point, when they do come in, we will join into executive session briefly while they're here. Okay? So, FY25 budget discussion is next up on the list. What do we know there, Scott? We know we have now a more detailed budget of the Hampshire Regional School System has come in. We had a bit of a placeholder. John gave us one last meeting, and I think their actual budget is coming in just a tad bit less, but not much, maybe.
Well, it's $37,000.
Okay, $37,000 is that? Hey, that pays for something. I shouldn't. Oh, and I will say too, while you're looking at in your packages, I don't think we will go through these, but you have an explanation from the Community Preservation Committee about their articles, all pretty lengthy in terms of their explanation, but please do go through them. If you have any questions or anything, reach out to Scott and ask about those if you would, but hopefully that will be pretty self-explanatory. They've done a good job pulling their articles together. So, what do we know in terms of revenues, expenses? Where are we in terms of our total proposed whatever, Scott?
So far, we have most of the items in for the budget. Some of the things that we just kind of carried over from last year, postage, some of like the smaller amounts, the finance committee expenses, things like that. And it comes out to so far,
$21. Oh, less than last year? That can't be.
well, I think it's part of it's the dispatch. And the reduction in the wages to that. And that's one of the things that we talked about is maybe building into the budget, just a reminder in a couple of years that grants
We're going to have to be paying for that.
Out. Yeah.
Right. So we need to,
I think we should budget 100%, show 100%, but then as the revenue source, show 100% of the year one grant from the state. But, much like on the school side. So it's both there, and over time, the grant will reduce, but the expense stays consistent, so the year it comes back.
Right.
It's not a shocker to anybody.
Because we've got 3 years that the grant to Easthampton should pay for our dispatch service, but year 4, we start paying. In year 5, we pay definitely. In year 6, we pay all of it. So we definitely need to be building a mini future day, rainy day fund to take care of that, because that's definitely going to come back and bite us in the near future. We don't have in here, though, do we have like the enterprise funds dealt with in here or not yet? So those maybe.
Water we're working on it. We're going to meet with, Brett stopped by last week, and he just needs a little bit of guidance on some of the indirect costs to finalize everything, but 3/4 of his budget are done.
Okay.
And we're going to be meeting on Thursday with Bradley as well. So there's some, he wants to go over the indirect costs and what it is moving forward.
Okay.
And then the other big item for the enterprise funds would be for the transfer station.
Right.
And one of the items, I talked to Bradley earlier today about potentially transferring that $15,000 monitoring fee and putting it into the general budget, so it's a little bit more accurate of what's actually spent at the transfer station.
Right.
It's probably going to be a deficit this year. So
was that only 15? I had 35 in my head.
35 deficit, but 15 is the cap, is the
15 is
monitoring of
the
the cap.
monitoring fee? Okay. Yeah, I think the other night when we started talking about that, I mean, that seems to make some sense, that is,
I know we're scrolling, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I thought didn't we sign a 3-year contract with the outside auditors? And it looks like we're holding the price consistent, but that doesn't sound right to me.
on the outside.
Just as a note, yeah, we're staying consistent at 47,000 year over year. And we had a 3-year contract with an option for 4 and 5, but
Yeah, we've got to go back and look at that contract and just
Yeah,
double check those
that's
figures
all.
on that one. But I think the notion back to the transfer station, the fact that we are paying to monitor the capping of the landfill and we'll be paying for it forever and ever and ever, it seems to me that that's a big, it's a baked-in town expense as far as I'm concerned, and shouldn't need to be covered by the fees at the landfill itself, at the transfer station itself. So to me, I would be fine to put in that $15,000 as a separate line item or where it needs to be. I think that would make sense. The other thing we talked about briefly the other night, and I guess we maybe need to figure out, and John, unless you might know, we started talking about having a revolving fund for the Board of Health. Do we need to do something special to create that, like a warrant article?
well, that would be under Article 21 that's on here, the revolving funds, to establish it.
Okay, because that is just simply saying, here's our list of revolving funds, here's the maximum amount that can be spent from them. That's all we usually do.
Correct. So then, starting July 1st, all money coming in would be proportionately deposited there and into the general fund. 30 days later, the contract employee would submit an invoice, and in theory, there is sufficient funds to cover it. We may want to, for the initial startup, put seed money in there, whether it's 5,000 or 10,000, whatever the number is, so there's something there.
Yeah. But I mean, but there, it seems like, in addition to voting on the amount of the revolving funds, we need to create an article to establish a revolving fund for the Board of Health, I would think.
Yeah, so my memory is Article 21 is where every year we have to annually reestablish everything. So it would be an insert to create that extra one there.
Okay.
And then the cap would be there.
Okay, so it may just be part of it, not a separate article itself.
Correct.
Okay.
But I think if we're going to do seed money, that would be like a one-time line item here.
Right.
To get the money in there.
Okay, got it. All right. The other thing, and I guess we'll catch up with Jen again at another point, but at some point, we need to understand, too, what debt is coming off the books, right?
Yep.
Which I don't know if we have a sense of what's up there. Is there anything that anybody knows that might be?
It should be, this is the interest. So it does significantly take a pretty big dive. All this should be coming off this year, Bradley, when I talked to Bradley about it, so. I just want to verify that.
Okay.
The other question that I would like answered, Chris, I mean, that's part one, but the other question that I would have, or I'd want to know the answer before we go to town meeting on potential acquisitions and large things is, what do we have currently authorized but not issued? Because we have our ceiling, you take your equalized value of the town times 5%, that's how much you can get. So there's your ceiling. We have all our existing debt, but then there's anything that we've previously authorized but not borrowed would still count against that, i.e. if we haven't borrowed for the East Street Bridge yet, we need to know that number to know what our capacity is, and/or potentially resend some votes to
No, I think
open it up.
the bridge is on there, the debt is there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would have been the last thing, unless there was a piece of equipment.
There should, as part of the annual audit, there should be an ongoing list that we could easily reference as, to show it.
Right.
And if we have bond counsel, which we do, they're supposed to certify it. So I think somebody easily has it if we just ask for it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the other thing would be, we've approved septic betterment borrowing, but we actually haven't done it. So I mean, I don't get a spot where we over borrow
Okay.
within the limit.
All right. Thank you. Okay, good. Anything else on budget? How are we looking at the revenue, Scott? Was that on that page too, or
Yep, let me bring that up here.
just to see where we are with, we can tackle that one.
As long as it's more than 22, we're in a good spot.
Just to see how far apart are we here in terms of,
Numbers are smaller. Can't read what it
Numbers are
is.
small.
That means it's not good.
It's kind of like,
not
you know, it's kind of like I can't be overspent, I've still got checks in my checkbook, right? So, 25 estimated. And we still have a few more numbers to figure out there, probably. Do we have all the school money in there or all that stuff? Probably not yet.
No.
Yeah, so we're close.
Okay, so we're not
Looks like about $300,000 deficit.
terrible. Ought to be able to be.
Well, we still have to, I mean, it depends what you want to do with like the Collins report.
Yep.
And how that was baked into the budget
Right.
this year, and if there's going to be a separate thing. I'm not sure if all departments actually followed the standard that Ed had put out.
Yeah.
Right.
So there may,
Yeah, and the budget instructions were to take wherever your current person is on the wage scale and move it to the next step.
Period.
That was it, not any more raises than that, not more 3%.
Is new growth
Just that.
already in here?
Huh?
This is for Scott. Is new growth already in from the assessor's office?
I'm not sure, I have to double check.
Okay.
Okay, so that might be another one too, yeah, okay,
Let's see here, estimate.
I think that was pre-plugged by our
yeah.
predecessor.
Trust but verify.
So, yeah, no, I think
Brad is not comfortable.
we will be having a joint, may as well announce it now, a joint budget meeting with Finance Committee, if everybody would just be sure you have that on your schedules on April 3rd. And I believe we said 6 o'clock on that, did we, or 7? Let me check that.
And just to be clear, at that meeting, we're gonna go on revenue, and then if we are going to be in a situation where we're talking about reductions,
Yeah.
would that start at that meeting? Because I know there's probably a few, if we're going to have that discussion, there's probably a few department heads that want to be at that meeting. So if there's a possibility, you should just let them know.
But I think with the other one we probably need to do is to be able to invite somebody from Hampshire Regional, as you
Right.
suggest, to come and actually kind of present their budget to us. Since they're in a bit of a disarray, John was suggesting that maybe the chair of the Hampshire Regional Committee, Tom Cleary, be contacted and invite him and/or have him send somebody to explain the Southampton budget from Hampshire Regional to us. I think that would probably be a good idea. Let me just check what we had said in terms of the timing of that meeting, though, before I make a goof on that. Hold on. Okay, let's see. I'm thinking we said 6 o'clock, but we'll double check that on April 3rd.
That's what I have in the calendar.
Yeah. So it'll be a joint meeting with finance to go over revenues. We'll see, hopefully by then we've got some information from the Collins report. We can be talking about that. We can talk about Hampshire Regional's impact on the budget, those kinds of things, okay? So April 3rd, joint meeting with finance, all right? Good, all right. Well, with that, we're going to take a break. It is 7 o'clock, and I'm seeing members of the Public Safety Building Committee here. So we are going to pause open meeting, and we will be coming back to open meeting. So do we need a motion to go out of open meeting into executive session, please?
Was that for the purpose?
We
of
will
going back?
do this, yes. I'm going to read it.
You want to read it?
Well, go ahead.
I make a motion that the Select Board adjourn from public session and convene an executive session with the Public Safety Building Committee under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiation positions of the body, specifically related to the public safety building site.
And while
Are
we're...
we taking that one up too? And
Yeah.
in addition, under MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A, Number 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant in aid requirements, specifically executive session minutes, January 18, 2024, and February 27, 2024. And the Select Board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion.
Correct. Okay. That's a motion made. Could I have a second,
Second.
please? Second by Stephen. Okay. All those in favor, roll call, please.
Lumber, aye?
Oh, sorry.
Johnson, aye.
Falls eye.
Piper, aye.
Okay. So Easthampton Media, if you would kindly stop our recording.
All right, we're good?
I think we're probably done, close to the PCFs, not quite.
Okay, so you guys are going back in public session?
Yeah, we'll go back into regular session at about 8:00 whatever. 8:03, thereabouts. All right, thank you very much. All right, we are back, folks, in open session. It's about 3 minutes after 8 o'clock. And we will pick up on our regular new business agenda. Joy needs to depart, but that still leaves a quorum here. So we will continue on with Collins Center update. Scott.
Yep. So I reached out to the Collins Center, and they're going to be able to provide just an estimate for budgeting purposes on what their report might look like final.
Okay.
So hopefully in the next day or two, we're going to have a little bit of clarity on how it's going to impact the budget.
Okay. And for sure, we would have it for our April 3rd budget meeting.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay, because otherwise I think that it's going to be really crucial to try and just get a sense of where we are with our current wages versus what they're maybe.
So I wonder if, and this work may already be happening, but I wonder if Bradley, if he has spare time, could get out in front of this and create a list of all the non-union people. Here's where they currently are, and then we plug in what they're saying the median is to start, so that when we're sitting, we have a starting number when we do come back on April 3rd to look at this.
Yeah, because
based on the recommendation, and then we could adjust.
Right, because I think in the budget worksheets, people have put in their next step, but we don't know exactly.
So I would use the next step number that's in there, and then, because I suspect some of them are going to be close to where that says, and some will be off, but what I don't want to do is try not to be here on April 3rd and say, okay, well, now let's create this document.
Yeah, okay. So
does it make sense?
Union versus non-union employees with a list of where their current steps are, grading step.
This report should only be addressing the non-union people covered by PPP.
Correct.
Right.
Non-union. So basically where people are and, verifying that everybody did their one-step
Yes.
challenge in their request.
And to be
Check the math.
And to be clear, because the Collins report is a two-part report. One part is public, the other part remains an executive pending negotiations. Right, okay.
Okay, so that's at least hopefully something getting closer to us, which is great. We will look forward to that. Assessors, principal assessor and admin assistant update. I think that'll just come up a little bit later on in PCF.
I was gonna say, I think it's done.
I don't think there's any
carryover.
Yeah, it was a carryover item. I don't think we need to mention anything of that. Senior Center Building Committee update. Scott, you've got a little bit of an update here, but we've also got the warrant article in here, so we could go ahead and mention that if you want to.
So we have the warrant article all set for the land acquisition for 89 Clark Street. So it's been reviewed by KP Law and the Senior Center Building Committee. I have reached out to the landowner as well to schedule a introduction and start to negotiate. It's going to be myself, the chairperson, and the other chairperson of the two committees. So hopefully this week we're going to meet and hopefully have a deal, but it might take a little bit longer than that. We do have the purchase and sale that was all set by our attorney, so obviously I would imagine the seller's going to have to do their own due diligence as well and look through that with their legal counsel.
Okay, so that is underway, and hopefully will be something that we can put forward on the warrant article without too much problem. Public Safety Building Committee, just a brief update that we're waiting on an appraisal.
Yep. So we're waiting on the appraisal for the entire potential land that the Public Safety Building Committee had mentioned or preferred for their site. Hopefully in the next couple weeks we're going to have that. We did have the initial proposal for the smaller parcel did come in.
Okay. And at the present time, title search is ongoing, I believe? It was ordered anyway.
I have an email from Katie.
Yeah, okay. I think that was ordered
that with her.
before Ed left, if I'm not mistaken. But let's check that. And then just to put out there that there will be, Public Safety Building Committee is working on a public information meeting, which right now is going to be scheduled for April 10th at Norris School at 7 p.m. And that's basically going to walk the community through the process that the committee has been going through and kind of the steps that they've been looking at all along as they're working on the feasibility of a new public safety complex. So more information will be coming on that, but for those listening, hold tight on April 10th at 7 o'clock at Norris School. Okay. All right, FY22 audit update.
So I've reached out to Markham, and the last part of it is getting some information from the school lunch program. I did talk to the Norris principal last week to make sure that it's on their radar. So hopefully we'll have that, and that'll be the last part. And then we do have to process the final payment as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then that would tie into, on the FY23 closeout, there too, we're still, even though we've gotten the budget now from Hampshire Regional, we're still waiting on reconciliation of the various accounts that Bradley is dealing with, from the grants to various other budget line items. Some of the, I think some of the questions too revolve around just correctly allocating the teachers that are under the ARPA money, and just making sure that everything is sitting in the right, the right line items, et cetera. Do we have any sense how, I mean, you know, we didn't want to get until the very last minute, be able to close our books. I mean, we still need to close our books and get our free cash done. So I don't know what we need to do to push that even harder with the school. I mean, is there, I mean, nobody's really there, but is the Munifin people, are they working on it?
Yeah.
Or is Mickey's back now, but.
I think he's still remote.
Okay.
He
sent in the budget, so that's why I said he's back, but yeah, you're right.
he is working, just
Yeah,
not on site.
He just may not be on site, okay.
But the last time we actually had a Zoom was on Friday, and I know he was still remote as of that day. So I'll have an update on Friday. It's when we get back together again.
Okay, all right. Because I think we really, certainly by the time we come together again on April 3rd, I'd really like to see some movement on that. I think this has just been, you know, too crazy to assume that we're going to have some free cash to even play with here. But I mean, we just can't go to the end of our extension that they've been so nice to grant us to get all this done. I mean, I think we have to really keep on pushing that one. So we've talked a bit about the revenue projection already. I guess just looking at the latest revenue and expense report for '24 that Bradley sent out, I'm trying to see which one I had. I think we had a couple of them. Did he send one today? I'm trying to figure out which one I had that I was looking at here. Hang on. Just to see if we noticed anything in particular where people are getting a little close in their budget issues here. Judy sent one out, I'm sorry. No, that's department budgets, revenue estimates, wrong one, never mind. Hey, boy. Okay, let me just look at my files here for a second here. Let's be sure I got it. So I guess the last one we have maybe is 321.
Yeah, that's the last one I have.
Okay, all right. So that's the one. And so we should be, you know, looking at just percentages. I mean, it's not the best way to do it. I mean, most people by now, we're at, you know, pretty much 9 months. So somewhere in that 60 to 70% actually expensed is what we would be expecting to see. So when we're seeing something that's really not there, we're hoping that anybody that says 100% at this point in time is because they had to pay something up front and it's a one-time cost. I know legal, for example, that's at 48%. That can't be totally true because they bill in arrears, and I'm sure we've got lots of things lately that we've had to have them do with various property issues that probably will build that bill up a little bit more. Few others, I'm not sure if there's anybody that's teetering on the edge here, but again, people, please take a look at your your reports. Now, looking at town hall building expenses, Scott, for one, I don't know, we're at 94% spent. I don't know all that encompasses and, whether we've got enough to get through the next 3 months. So that would be one where we've only got $1,700 left, for example. So there's things like that on the general fund that would make me pause a little bit for some of these. Anybody else see anything offhand? Ambulance expenses seem a little bit low, too. They're only at about 47%, but maybe that's true.
And I guess this is where I come up with not having the narrative, because, I mean, the header says this is as of March 21st, 2024.
Right.
But that's a default of when the report is run. I guess I would want to know what's, I'm assuming.
Well, it'd be through the last warrant article. Yeah, that's what we need to know, through whichever last vendor warrant article and some of the other payroll article.
Right.
Payroll warrant. So, yeah, that would be good to get a little bit more clarity on that. True, I agree with you.
I'm guessing all our debt is due in June 30th?
Just one other one that comes to mind, just looking for Randall, just a question to him on the stormwater management. Only spent 7,000 so far. Usually that we knock down right pretty much all the way. So again, maybe there's a big, a timing
There is.
expense there on that one.
He mentioned street sweeping,
Okay.
and that's a springtime contracted expense. It's quite large.
Very good. Okay.
And refilling the salt shed.
Yeah, okay. Cemetery commission expenses, also quite low. So just people just keep an eye out in terms of what you have there. If you need to do some transfers, we're going to try and rely on you. Anybody else have any comments about that? If not, we'll keep on chugging. ARPA financials, I had Bradley run an ARPA financial report because we haven't seen one in about 2.5 months. We hadn't done any more ARPA awards since early December, I think it might be. There's still, again, because there's a little bit of mix-up with some of the issues on, I think some of the teachers for the ARPA money may not have been fully classified there, or there might have been a couple of cross-postings from what he said, so I wanted to spend time and go back with him and see which ones are really done. And just a reminder, too, that we're coming up on the quarterly reports for ARPA that would be due in theoretically April 15th. So once we see people's quarterly reports come in, if projects are actually done, then we will have a better handle, I think, at the end of April to say, okay, there's this amount of money left, and we should be able to go back and reprogram that for other future needs that we have, or immediately future needs. And the one I think that we definitely need to be clear on, John, as you brought it up the other night, is on the school for the behavioral specialists and paras that are under ARPA now.
Neurodiversity program.
Yeah, I mean, just to be sure how much money is really left for them to carry them through the fiscal year, through June, but then there may even be some that would carry already into September, I don't know, but that we had not approved the 25 amount. But until we get a better, tighter figure on what we really have left, it's going to depend on some of these that are finishing up that maybe have a little bit extra money to put back in there.
And again, I haven't dug into the material on the ARPA probably in 2 or 3 months, but there were 2 big reimbursement placeholders there. That once that happened,
one was for the water main for the water.
So that work's been done. I would think that money should be coming back.
I haven't seen an invoice, though, because one is for the second phase, but the $180,000 that was the ARPA money, the work has been done. That should be an invoice already, but it's not showing up on Bradley's report as having been expensed yet. So that's what I want to check on, too.
And then once it gets spent, Well, no, not that one. No, there were two that, like, I thought there was a 63 or 30,000 that we had to put the money up.
There's one
to
for
pay
Randall
it.
and the stormwater. That's working on it now. That one is
Okay.
finally kicked in. And so that's with the culvert asset management grant.
Yep.
And that is starting now. Time Bond's working on it. They're doing
It
their
was something with the
field work.
trail, with the greenway?
Who's
the other one?
Not for ARPA, no, I don't think so. The one for Randall is one where we had to put out the 100 and some thousand, and we will get reimbursed some of that once
Right.
they start fiddling around with the state money that has to come in and out. It's just the most convoluted process in terms of how you have to get reimbursed. So we'll see if I can, I'll try to sit down and go through it with Bradley and see if I totally understand where we are. But it'll be a little bit clearer, I think, at our end of April meeting, when we have their quarterly reports in and we know if everybody's still working on projects or not. But we'll see. Okay. Tax title,
We did that.
already did. Schedule for budget hearings, so basically we'll go with April 3rd and see how far we get, and that may be the end of our hearings. We'll see if anybody has anything else. I mean, we'll usually just during our regular discussion, Scott, like we'll talk through the town-wide budget and the, treasurer or town clerk. There's not usually other departments that necessarily would come to present anything once we get through the school. Okay. Any other business that can't wait until the next meeting, which is not March 26th, that would be April 9th?
Deja vu all over again.
I know, it feels like it some days, I tell you.
Is it the 9th? No.
It would be April 9th would be our next meeting. Anybody have anything that can't wait? I know Dan had sent a note around. Easthampton Media is inviting us to come for a walkthrough tour at Easthampton Media at some point in time. I think it would be nice if we did that, just to see the facility and get their input.
I think Dan's certain to attend, and if my attendance makes a quorum, then I'm sure it'll be dealt with accordingly.
No, that's okay.
But I'm interested. I know next to nothing about communications.
Yep. Okay. Scott, why don't you take over the old business while I lose my voice?
You out of water?
No, I got some things. Thank you.
So we got the quote for the stormwater utility study from Time Bond, so I'm going to have to circulate that. No update on the VOIP. I do have the instructions to get that ready. It's one of those lingering projects. We did meet with town council about the cannabis payments. Essentially, it's a evolving legal field right now with no clear answer on how to move forward. But I know Chris and I, we've been emailing back and forth on how to kind of move forward with what the agreement is that Southampton had with the dispensary, so.
Yeah, and I think, just to say, I think what we're sort of thinking is not to really involve KP Law, but to try and have a meeting and try and just talk about what somebody's willing to do.
What's fair and equitable?
Yeah, so, because the law seems to be
Yeah.
evolving. There's various, legal challenges.
And to be clear,
in communities that are much bigger than us, that,
I'm okay with, like, the current, 25, and we put a halt to it, but we put it in the budget. So therefore, we should try to collect it. This 25 budget, we should zero it out if we don't think it'd be collectible.
Good point.
And I'm just asking them to honor the agreement they signed.
gotcha. No, so I think Scott and I will talk about it a little bit more and see a way forward on that, so we can at least have a discussion about it.
Good.
Apparently, the legal challenges are many on the eastern part of the state for larger communities that have got hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is not us, that are getting as revenue. So, the KP's point was, how much is it worth it to you to go
fight,
after them and waste your money in terms of legal fees? So
Negotiated.
discouraging us, I think, to pursue it legally, try to solve something amicably. So
Thank you.
I think that'll be our next step.
Good.
Okay.
And no updates on the underground tank.
Not yet. Yep. Okay.
Oh, can I just say,
Do you know somebody? Yeah.
underground storage tank at the highway garage, that was the reference in passing. We pay a very large fee to have it inspected and/or maintained annually, and there's a desire to move forward with a new facility, and I second that, but not at its current location.
And Randall stopped by today to talk about the insurance costs to get a rider for it as
It
well.
was the insurance,
Yes.
not the inspection.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't make sense of it. Insurance is what it is, and it's outrageous.
Yeah, it is, yep. Okay,
And that's like the landfill, that's a town expense more, or liability, to be clear, and therefore should be town expense.
It is.
A highway, you know, they spot the fire trucks of
Yeah.
fill up. It's not just the highway department, the whole town stands behind hazardous waste spill. Should that, God help us,
yeah, that's true.
ever occur.
Good point. Okay. Next up, we have a variety of personnel change forms. John, would you like to take those on, please?
Creative reading time.
Yeah. Let me get to my correct double-sided paper here. Okay. So,
Some good name challenges coming.
yeah, I know. So the first one is motion to approve PCF for Ethan Brastad of Southampton, effective March 10th, to probationary firefighter as needed, $15 per hour.
Okay. Want to take them one by one?
Well, because there's problems with the next.
Okay, all right.
Two.
So, have a motion, we have a second? Steven?
Steven seconded.
Second?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right.
And take the next two up together. PCF for Jonathan Malo of Southampton, going from probationary firefighter, $15 an hour, to as-needed basic firefighter. And we modified the PCF to match the wage scale that's approved, so it's 15.92, not 15.50. The same for Benjamin Sua
No.
of Montgomery.
No, Jacqueline,
Oh,
no. He's different, I think. So it's Jacqueline Plantier.
Jonathan
Correct.
Malo and Jacqueline Plantier. Plantier?
Yeah. Okay. Jacqueline Plantier.
Same
yeah.
data.
yep.
Okay.
Second?
So these are both, sorry, these are both,
They both, so what happened is they were probationary firefighters, which is $15. And then when you pass your firefighter basic 6 program, you get a 50 cents increase.
Okay.
However, they're also reclassifying them from probationary to basic firefighter. And the minimum scale for a basic firefighter is $15.92.
okay.
So it's all encompassing, they get another 42 cents an hour.
Motion is correct.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so we got a motion and a second then? Stephen, did you second that, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so that's for Jonathan Malo and Jacqueline Plantier.
And now that brings us to PCF for Benjamin Souza, as-needed firefighter / EMT basic, $18.42 per hour of Montgomery, Mass. And in the comments sections, you can see how he gets to the rate, which corresponds with the pay scale.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion passes.
And I would note that this is the first packet that included all the
Yeah, background and
credit to the current interim fire chief with
Correct.
Corey checks and all that are done ahead of time.
plus certificates of
Yep.
training and so forth.
Great job.
Next, we can take up together, I think, these are related to police department, PC,
So, one's full-time, one's part-time. so
right,
we should take them
PC, you want them separately?
separate. I would, yeah.
Okay. PCF for David Engers of Southampton, replacement of full-time officer, 37.5 hours per week, police officer, Grade 7 hourly rate of $32.91, which is above the starting rate. However, because of experience and all that, both the chief and the union have given us signed documents agreeing to this, and everybody is in agreement that that should be the starting wage for this individual, based on their history.
Be step 7, not grade 7. Thank you.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes.
All right, and then next we have a PCF for Nathan Charette of Westfield. This is a part-time as needed, not to exceed 19 and a half hours a week, police officer, initial hire, starting off at the initial rate of $23.14.
Second?
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. That one passes as well.
Brings us to the assessor's office.
All right.
Some may feel this is a repeat, but
Somewhere ahead.
any objection doing these both together?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Go for it.
PCF for Kathleen McCown of Haydenville, adjusting hours from a range of no less than 20, no more than 24, remaining in the admin assistant post, same grade, same step, same wage. Also PCF for David Zagorski of Easthampton as permanent principal assessor, 24 hours a week, grade 5, step 11, hourly rate of $31.43. That position, both positions are eligible for benefits.
Second?
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Very good. That takes us through all the PCFs.
Oh.
Very, very good. Okay. Next,
Let me get some
it's Stephen's turn.
Let me get some commas in these numbers so I have a half of a chance. It's a short list, but I still find it challenging.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The warrants, there are 4 to report on. Payroll Treasury, P 24-37, in the amount of $331,782.23. Second is payroll deduction warrant, PD 24-37, in the amount of $52,902.97. Treasury warrant W24-38, the amount is $295,481.52. And finally, a Treasury warrant W24-38A for $4,000 even.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on those? They're pretty self-explanatory, I think. And again, I would just, as we look at ARPA things in particular, I tend to focus in on the ARPA levels versus, what's on the warrants and whatever we have on Bradley's list too, and make sure we have a matching number, hopefully.
That's
what we try to
always
do.
good.
Try to do. All right, next up. In addition, actually, it's got the other signatures that we have to do on the MDR thing, for sure. But we also have a certificate of retirement, a tad bit late, but we have a certificate of retirement for Janine Domina that we'll sign tonight. Just to say, given with sincere appreciation for your dedicated 14 years as assistant assessor and town clerk, thank you for all your service benefiting the community of Southampton, Mass. Awarded this 26th day of March 2024. And we'll sign that and get that to Janine, and if she were available to come in and get it for a little handshake in front of Select Board, that's fine, but if not, we'll get it to her. So we'll all sign that before we go tonight, and we can catch up with the other guys that are not here.
You usually sign before or after you adjourn, or?
It kind of circulates as we go along. Doesn't really matter. As long as we don't not sign it, that's all.
Have you done the PCF yet?
We just
Yes.
did
You just did them.
it. All done.
Everybody's good.
No problem. All done.
Finally.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations, Cindy.
All set, yeah. Yeah, so we'll just be sure that we sign everything we need to before we go tonight. We have some minutes to approve as well.
Motion to approve January 2nd, January 18th, and March 12th.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, so these are good. Catherine Ingram is doing a great job with our minutes. She's caught up in doing them. We've got a different way of delivering them to her, so she's much more on top of knowing what she needs to have. They had a bit of a delay getting to her in the past, and I think we will be up to date with minutes as we go along, a whole lot better than we ever have been, frankly. Any pending items? Just, I don't think there's anything really on the East Street section at this point. For the Green Communities Grant, I have made a phone call and have left a message with the folks there at the Western Mass office to figure out where the status of that is, and I'll report on that when I find out. And then we'll still keep on with an assistant accountant. That has really got to be a priority, I think, based on other comments that both John and Stephen have said in terms of just getting things up to date so we know what's happening. And you know, even as Jen had said, there may be things that are not evident that should be things that office needs to be doing, and you know, because they're understaffed, they're not aware that there really is more to be done that they're not aware of. Our next board meetings, also a little minor change there. It won't be for April 14th and 28th. Sorry, somebody had a wrong calendar here. It'll be the 19th and the 20th. Why can't I do this? 19th and 26th, is that right? 19th and 23rd?
Are you in April?
Yeah.
The 9th, not the 19th.
The 9th, I'm sorry. 9th and the 23rd, am I right on that?
Yep.
That's what I have.
So just with that, I'm
The 23rd.
I'm envisioning, is the 9th when we have to vote to finalize the warrants under Robert's schedule? Does it have to be by that Friday?
I think we have another week beyond that.
Would that be, we don't have a meeting that week in the school vacation, so I personally
okay.
will be out of the state.
Thank you. When is school vacation?
The 13th, the 20th, I think.
13 to 20? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Well, that'll give us a date to aim for the 9th.
Yeah, we should be able to have it all set.
See if we can get the warrant. Unless there's any last minute things coming in, it shouldn't be that.
Just
A lot of people like CPC and everybody have just
the
kind of given
appraisal.
their draft. Huh?
The appraisal.
Yeah, I know. Given their draft articles, so they've already helped out by doing some of the drafting themselves. Okay, so regular meeting will be April 9th and the 23rd. And I think that's...
Tomorrow night will be I should have said this earlier, the public hearing for the Norris budget. And after which we'll have school committee meeting after that to make any adjustments based on the public hearing and/or what we heard from finance or updated numbers. So I would envision finalizing our budget tomorrow night.
Okay. Great. And once again, thank you and Kim for doing all the yeoman's effort to pull that budget together. We would still be waiting, and it would be great if we can also just make sure that the famous lunch receipts get
Yes.
Lunch receipt.
reconciled. That's apparently, well, we're waiting on some of that issues for the auditor. So I know we've reached out, so we'll kind of keep on pushing on that one again. But there's no reason we shouldn't have that by the end of the week, I would think. Okay, I think that's all we have for an agenda, guys. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned at 8:35. Thank you, Vic. Thank you.
Bad.
Let us all try to...